Hey, it's Vin with CFG Games, and we're reviewing Llamasoft, the Jeff Minter story. With his penchant for psychedelic action-packed games, Jeff Minter has become one of my favorite game designers, so naturally I was stoked when Digital Eclipse announced this collection, the second in their Gold Master series. Digital Eclipse has a reputation for being incredibly comprehensive. Their collections aren't just lists of video games. They allow players to experience video game development and the personalities thereof. I'm happy to say that Llamasoft, the Jeff Minter story is no exception. Let's dive into a bizarre world full of colorful bovines, llamas, and other fluffy critters. The game has three major components: the timeline, which organizes Jeff Minter's development history into four eras across the 80s and 90s, the playables, which include over 40 games spanning the Commodore 64, the ZX Spectrum, Atari 8-bit, and other platforms. And then there's a full list of Llamasoft's games, so you can check out other titles that aren't featured in this collection. The timeline is full of assets to explore. It features photos, anecdotes, rotatable props, and videos. There are even historical artifacts like doodles on grid paper and photos of show booths. And the best part of all is that scrolling is brisk. The timeline is organized in a clear, concise way that's easy to read. It really matches the quality bar of Digital Eclipse releases like Atari 50 and the making of Karateka. I also particularly enjoyed the documentary about the look of Llamasoft, which delves into the inspiration behind Jeff Minter's visual motifs and how playing his games is like looking into his mind. The playables cover a wide array of action-packed games. There are plenty of arcade-like shooters, whether they take place on a single screen or scroll horizontally. Out of all of these, I particularly enjoyed Laser Zone, Void Runner, and Super Grid Runner, but the list includes other genres as well. I can't stop laughing at Hover Bover, a game where you steal your neighbor's lawnmowers and then you try to clear flowers on a screen. It has some funky inertia, but it's a blast. And then there's Headbanger's Heaven, which may initially feel like Game & Watch Helmet, but you can actually tank some falling objects on your head for more score bonuses, so there's a fun risk and reward flow. And the attract screen features some particularly wacky writing. I also thoroughly enjoyed Psychedelia and Color Space, which aren't even games. They're visualization programs where you can draw and tinker with display and music options to set up your own light show. There are also some significant timestamps. Attack of the Mutant Camels 89 was built for the unreleased Conic system. I would imagine most players don't know about this system at all. So this is a unique opportunity to experience some funky rainbow-themed shooting action. And then there's the parody Llamatron 2112, which was originally shareware, but it's a fun twist on Robotron, albeit with plenty of critters and additional tricks. The playable game list is staggering. Even though a few games are actually multiple versions of the same title across different platforms, it's fascinating comparing how a game runs on the Commodore VIC-20 to the Commodore 64. And in some cases, I actually prefer the VIC-20 version. For example, Hellgate Soundscape feels punchier compared to its Commodore 64 counterpart. And although many of these games are quite accessible, if you're looking for a challenge, you can check out Mama Llama and Iridis Alpha. These games' mechanics are quite involved, and they flew over my head. And as another side note, each game maps inputs to the controller in a natural way. Before you start, the on-screen HUD always shows which button does what. These games were originally for computer platforms, so some of these menus could have been clunky, but Digital Eclipse did a marvelous job making these menus just work. And per the norm nowadays, the collection supports rewinding and the vast majority of the games support save stating as well. In general, Llamasoft, the Jeff Minter story is nearly impeccable as a way to experience video game history and Jeff Minter's unique blend of psychedelia and action. One nitpicky criticism is perhaps that the collection primarily focuses on his 80s material and doesn't include much of his later work. Fortunately, the development timeline does mention games and platforms, so you can track down releases down on other storefronts if you're curious. A few games also feature some flashing effects, though the display filters mitigate these to some degree. And as a minor note, the collection doesn't really provide additional tips or hints, so it's up to you to look at the instruction manual and play around. But fortunately, the instruction manuals are chock full of humor and the scans are high quality. For those interested in video game history, you really can't go wrong with Llamasoft the Jeff Minter story, and once again, Digital Eclipse has really knocked it out of the park. This truly feels like more than a collection of games, and undoubtedly everyone will get a kick out of Llamasoft's library. Thanks for watching our review. This has been Vin with CFG Games. If you liked this review, subscribe to our YouTube channel for more amazing gaming reviews and more great content, and we'll see you on the next one.